Hi, and welcome to Focus on Health. I'm Jay Cohen, the director of the Winsted YMCA, and thanks for joining us. Each episode here, we focus on people and organizations and initiatives that are doing something to improve community health and wellness throughout the entire Winsted area and the surrounding region. And we've always got some great guests, and tonight's no exception. With me, I've got Agnes Desanudis, who is the chair of the Garden Committee for the Botel School in Norfolk. And we're going to learn all about the garden project that she's been working on, its history and where it's at, and what the future is for the garden. And I've got some ulterior motives. We're hoping to do one here in Winsted, so I'm looking to learn a lot from them. So Agnes, thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
I was out there on Friday. In a little while, we'll see some of the video I took while I was out there. But why don't you tell me a little bit about how the garden project got started? Like, what was the impetus?
Okay. Well, the impetus was came from the president of the PTO about 4 years ago, and she was a Montessori school teacher who had actually used a garden in her teaching where she had taught, and with the focus on kids' health, and with her background, she just got the backing of the PTO to begin raising money for the garden. And the reason it started 4 years ago was that, and why it's taken us so long to get to this point, is that the school in the meantime needed a new playground. So we are, that held us up, put things on the back burner for a little while. They wanted to fundraise for that. And once the playground was installed last year, we were able to just get going with this. But the history was just to get, get the educational component that could come along with the garden, the physical activity component, and the health and wellness component of the garden back into the school. That was her whole idea.
Excellent. So how and when did you get involved in the project?
I became involved when they came up with the idea and then weren't able to actually make a plan for the garden. And as a landscape designer, that's what I do. So, we all have kids in the school system. I felt like this was a place where I could contribute what I know to their idea. So that's how I came on board. And my husband came on board the same way. He's a designer also, and he is helping with the construction, and that's how it came together. It takes a lot of people to
it certainly does.
Different skills, to make it happen.
And it's great as a parent to be able to contribute to your kids' school community. And
of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. We just felt like it was something we knew and could contribute.
Sure. So other than waiting for the community garden to become the priority after the playground,
right.
What have been some other kind of barriers to the project really getting off the ground?
Getting off the ground. Initially, it had to be approved by the town selectmen. It is on town property, and the Board of Ed. We needed to convince them, and they were on board. Fairly early on before I was chair. The PTO president had gotten them on board, and their only concern was, would it be built and not be used, and then it would be a maintenance nightmare.
Sure.
So we did some research and sent interviews to the teachers and asked them if they would use it, and things came back fairly positive about that. So they always backed the garden, but they were a little leery, of course, because of the maintenance of it. And that led us to design it the way it is designed, that it's pretty easy to maintain. It looks nice, so hopefully people will want to continue maintaining it, because I think that's important. If it doesn't, they didn't want it to become an eyesore, people all of a sudden not take care of it, and it's becomes very weedy, as we all know our vegetable gardens can become midway through summer.
Absolutely.
So that was it. And then the fundraising was another issue, and we're still continuing fundraising, but we have enough money to finish the construction of the garden, get it planted, and buy tools for the school to be able to use, and hopefully have a little extra to start an after-school program, or put some money into that. But we will need money to raise money year to year for maintenance and for supplies and things like that. So.
And I understand you have a sponsorship program where people can sponsor a bed or a part of the facility. And
we do. We originally sold bricks with that people could have engraved with their names, and we've ended that. But now businesses, it was mostly businesses that have taken on these larger sponsorships where they could sponsor a gate, sponsor a bed, sponsor a cold frame. So we came up with different ideas for that, and they'll get a plaque with their name on it that'll stay there.
Excellent. Well, like I said, I went out on Friday, and I think this is a good time to maybe show the video of what was going on there Friday. And while it's going, we'll talk about it. And Agnes, if you could tell us what we're looking at.
Okay, this looks like the early stages of the garden. This is last year when we were mulching paths. This was part of the construction, nailing up the fencing. That's an overall view of the garden. This is our fence. And it's just a series of, at the moment, 16 raised beds that are 4 by 12 feet. We have 1 for each classroom, and then 4 center ones that the PTO will maintain, and then we have a few community beds. These are the kids mixing, looks like fertilizer, into the soil before they started planting. Getting the plants out of the market packs. This group was planting Brussels sprouts, cabbage, red cabbage and green cabbage.
I know there were some tomato plants.
There are some tomato plants. The stakes are indicating what they have to work around as far as where the irrigation lines are going to end up. This is showing them how to spread apart the roots a little bit before they plant them. Digging their hole, how to place them. They're breaking apart the roots a little. That's our principal, planting away. Oh, this looks like when they were digging the deep holes for the tomatoes. We're putting the tomatoes.
Yeah, principal definitely gets his hands dirty.
Yes, he does.
Literally and figuratively.
He enjoys being out there with the kids. These guys are planting tomatoes. They just planted a tomato, and then they continued to plant some lettuce around it. This is the older grade. Oh, there they go with the lettuce now. Before the tomatoes fill in, we had room for another crop. So we'll harvest the lettuce, and then the tomatoes will take over. Here they're watering everything in, and looks like they already mulched. They had done some mulching this is them learning how to mulch around the plants, keep the weeds down, keep the moisture in. Looks like a good crew. We did have a good crew there.
Absolutely. They were hard at work, for sure.
Yeah. They gave up their recess to be out there. So that's it. These beds will be used either in the school, in the kitchen. The lettuce, hopefully, in the next few weeks, they should be able to harvest that before school gets out. These are the bricks that we sold, the engraved bricks. And they'll go in a center area where the teachers could meet, bring the kids out, and talk about what they're going to do, and then disperse into the garden.
Yeah, it was. There was a lot going on there. That was a short video. I was there for a good hour, and
right.
It was amazing how hard the kids were working.
Yeah, they seem to enjoy it, so that's good. We want the garden. It seems like it gives them that hands-on learning, which was the educational value. Hopefully, make it memorable, and they could want to continue learning. If it is fun and if it's memorable and inspiring to them.
Yeah, and they seem to enjoy it. Like you said, they gave up their recess to do it.
They gave up their recess.
And now that was only 2 of the beds, and you mentioned there's 16 beds.
Right.
And that was the first planting ever in the garden, right?
Right.
So kind of how do you move forward? Does each class adopt a different bed?
Exactly.
Or?
Right.
Okay.
Each class adopts or is assigned a bed. And the teachers, this year being our first year, the teachers just gave me ideas of what they want to plant in the beds or their idea of what they want to do in the beds. So, and then I took those ideas and and came up with a plan that just gave a little diversity. If everyone said they wanted, the same thing, it wouldn't, work out so well. And we have to plan for crop rotation and things like that. So, so each teacher came up with an idea, or if they had something they wanted to teach but knew nothing about gardening, then I gave them an idea of what plants to use. So that's the stage we're at now. We have a planting plan, and we're ready to go. We're a little behind the ball this year, but we'll get there, and the kids will get out there planting before the school ends. Rather than not do it at all at this point, we decided to go ahead, and they could come back in the fall and see what they've done. See
Absolutely.
what came of it. So, and hopefully harvest things, and we'll plan, a harvest luncheon or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
I just want to pause for a second, and up on the screen
Sure.
we've got our phone number. So if anybody wants to call in with questions or comments about the garden, we'd love to hear it. 238-7518, and we'll take your calls. But it is going to be a great learning opportunity, and not just the educational aspect of the science behind the garden, but also the health and wellness, and trying new foods.
Exactly.
I know when I was there, they asked, which of the kids had tried coleslaw before.
Right.
And very few. I was surprised. I love coleslaw.
Right.
I'm like, how could you not have tried coleslaw? But now they're making the cabbage themselves. They're growing it.
Right.
They're much more apt to say, okay, I'm going to try this. I
I'm
made
going
this.
to try it, or if they see their friend trying it, hopefully they'll try it. And the food can be used in the cafeteria. So fresher food usually tastes better than stuff that's brought in. So hopefully that'll inspire. Hopefully they'll try it and like it, just because it does taste better too.
Absolutely. And they have some ownership of it.
Right.
Now, has the food service director at school been involved in this process too?
There's a health and wellness committee, and we've done everything. You need a public water supply to be able to bring the food into school, and you need to follow, all the health rules for that. So the school itself, having the principal and the superintendent on board will, I think, make that happen. We may have kids harvesting it, but as long as they harvest it correctly and it gets brought in and washed and cleaned, it'll be used as much as we can in the school. So we do have certain beds set aside specifically for the kitchen, and actually the ones that were planted there, when you were there, will be used in the kitchen as much as they can. And if not, if things don't come into fruition, they'll be used over the summer by